I cry myself to sleep almost every single night, and it's horrific losing 2 babies. And that is something that both of my daughters taught me as we stared at their vital sounds. It reminded me that if you have breath in your lungs, if you have a beating heart, you have someone or something worth fighting for. And so today I might not have Blaire, and I might not have Callie, but I have breath and I have a beating heart. And there are so many babies worth fighting for. And so that is why I'm here. So thank you.
Every once in a while, you hear those stories that make you stop in your tracks, completely in awe of the resilience of the human spirit. And maybe no story of the people that I personally know has impacted me more deeply over the past few years than that of my friend and fellow mom, Alivia Wysock, whose powerful journey of motherhood is exactly the testament that our society needs today, to be reminded that our babies are babies, worthy of life, of dignity, of protection, even when they face insurmountable obstacles. Throughout this past year, Alivia has tragically lost not 1, but 2 daughters after they received difficult diagnoses in utero and spent some time in the NICU. But throughout all of it, being told that she should abort her children by virtually every doctor and specialist that she saw, through difficult deliveries and those late nights in the NICU, all Alivia saw were her precious, beautiful daughters, created with a purpose, with intention, and for such a time as this, celebrating the gift of their lives for just one more day at a time. Through sharing the stories of her daughters, Blaire and Callie, Alivia's story has touched millions of people around the world through social media, and is exactly the reminder that we need in our abortion-obsessed and constantly dehumanizing society, that even the most vulnerable among us are worthy of celebration and love. If you've ever wondered, how do I navigate when someone I know is facing a difficult diagnosis while carrying a pregnancy, if you've struggled to find faith after devastating loss yourself, or if you're just looking for a little inspiration in what feels like a very dark and heavy world these days, trust me, today's episode is for you. For one of the most inspiring stories you'll ever hear, and for how to find our faith even when things seem most bleak, please join me in welcoming my beautiful friend Alivia to the show.
My beautiful friend Alivia, who I'm actually realizing I'm just meeting in person for the first time today, which I can't really begin to wrap my head around because you and I have been friends for a very long time. Yes. But I'm so overjoyed that you are here to share your family's beautiful story with us today, and just to give hope to so many families that are navigating grief and loss and trying to reorient themselves around faith in moments that often feels impossible for. Just to provide some context for people who might be watching today, you had actually originally reached out to me about this interview, which I'm incredibly blown away by, truly. I've been following your family story very closely this last year, as many of us who know and love you have been. But to know that you have the courage to give a voice to your beautiful daughters and to fight for the most vulnerable people in our country means the world to me. So to just get us started, who are you and why are we here today? Thank you. First of all, it's an honor to be here. And I was just talking to a few friends the other day. I said, it's probably easier to lay in bed and cry and hide and not want to get out and share, but we're all here to fight for life. We're all here to fight for babies that don't have a voice for themselves. And so that is why I'm here today. And although it might be through lots of tears or fake it till you make it, I just felt like God was really calling us to connect. And it's one of those things that you can't unlearn. You know, once you're exposed to something, once you have seen something face on, it's like, okay, I can't unsee that. I can't unlearn that. So I am Alivia. I am a mom of 2 baby girls that are now with Jesus. I'm married to the most incredible man and father. I am 4th generation pastor's kid. I lead a Christian leadership company and I speak. And today is actually 2 months since Callie has passed, which is crazy, the timing about how this all came into fruition. But yeah, so I just want to come and bring awareness and help any other mom that might be dealing with grief or infertility, or if there's anyone that wants to be a voice in the pro-life movement, really just to empower them to go forward and share. So thank you so much.
Let's talk about your beautiful daughters. You have 2 little girls that are now in heaven that we will be rejoined with someday. Tell us about your daughters and this year that you guys have had through your journey.
Oh my goodness. So really before I had
Blaire. So Blaire is my firstborn. Callie was second. We were dealing with infertility for a year and a half. Could not get pregnant, and I'm very organic, very holistic, no vaccine. I don't know what's allowed to be said, but no vaccine.
Oh, say whatever you want about that.
I'm like, I don't know what's off topic or not, but just very holistic. And, you know, I've dealt with severe Lyme disease. I dealt with a lot of chronic illness. And so I was really all about getting to the root cause of what's going on. Why am I not able to conceive? And so it's actually insane. I got a root canal tooth removed and 2 weeks later got pregnant.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was wild. So I started learning a lot about the root cause of root canals and how they cause so many different chronic illnesses and how Lyme disease and mold toxicity can live in your mouth. So there was this whole thing about that, which is a whole other story. But as soon as I got that tooth removed, I was pregnant 2 weeks later with Blaire. And honestly, I was shocked. My dentist that I went to for the procedure was like, "You're not coming back next month. You're going to be pregnant." And I just looked at him thinking, oh my goodness gracious, that's very bold of you to say, especially as a woman who's been trying to conceive for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like, that's a bold statement. And so sure enough, 2 weeks later, I was pregnant and I texted him and he said, "You're the third one today that since they got their root canal tooth removed is pregnant."
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, I always say the proof was there. My blood work's been perfect. But yeah, so I got pregnant with Blaire. Everything was great. And I ended up getting severe polyhydramnios, so much fluid. And then at my 20-week anatomy scan, it all went south. So they had seen so many physical abnormalities with her. And of course, the conversation of, do you want to terminate, came up at every single appointment.
Were there any, sorry to interrupt you, but were there any moments along the way leading up to 20 weeks that anything had seemed out of the ordinary with her pregnancy?
No, there was really no signs. And honestly, I had never been pregnant before, so I didn't know the polyhydramnios was severe. I just thought I'm small and now I'm not and everything's uncomfortable. I'm growing a baby. And so no, it wasn't until we went to the 20-week anatomy scan. And with that, they had just noticed some physical abnormalities and they weren't quite sure of a diagnosis. They just kept reiterating, "Do you want to terminate?"
How did they first approach you with that? I can imagine the scene in my head, but did someone walk into your ultrasound room immediately and just say, "Well, here we go"? I mean, how did that unfold?
Yeah, honestly, looking back, so the first ultrasound with the sonographers, they can't really tell you what's going on. I'm sure you've experienced that. And they just said you basically need to get a level 2 MFM ultrasound, maternal fetal medicine. And so we went to that MFM doctor and it was probably an hour and a half long, the ultrasound was, because it was level 2. They had to look at everything anatomically. And so he came and sat down and honestly was the most traumatic appointment I've ever been to. He was taking phone calls throughout the whole thing. He was saying, "Your baby's never going to survive." Just very, very blunt, horrible bedside manner. And I just remember thinking, how did you get into this job? Like, how did you get into this occupation? You're delivering some horrible news and you have no compassion, no grace at all. And he just very bluntly said, "Do you want to terminate?" Like
Immediately.
Yeah.
How did you feel being asked that?
For me, obviously, my faith is everything. So this would have never been, I would have never thought of that. And I immediately was like, heck no. Just like that. Heck no. I just looked at him and I said, "I don't know who you think you are to tell me to terminate my baby, but we will be moving forward with this pregnancy." And I fired him.
As you should. As you should.
Yeah.
But that was a continued conversation.
Yeah, it was.
From what you've told me, all of your medical practitioners really suggested this at one point or another along the way.
Yeah.
As you are unfolding with this tragic news that your family is receiving, that your daughter is dealing with a pretty scary diagnosis, and you're trying to continue your pregnancy as long as possible to give her a healthy delivery, what was that like? Just constantly being told by doctors and nurses, "Well, your baby's not even really a baby, basically. You should just kill her in order to prolong her humanity while you can."
Yeah. I think for me, at the end of the day, I pause because I don't want to just answer quickly and say what I'm supposed to say. I think that it was really ultimate surrender. Ultimate surrender of saying, "God, are you really who you say you are?" are you really good? Because this does not feel good. This feels evil. This feels horrific. This is just not what you would have ever envisioned when you finally get a positive pregnancy test. And so I just remember sitting there and saying that all of these words that the medical professionals say have no power over her. And I just remember like laying hands on my belly anytime they would say it, and I just would say, I rebuke that. Like, I do not receive that. I'm speaking life. And so it was really just a daily choice to literally speak life. And I was joking how I always carry my Bible because I have all of her ultrasounds in here still. And I just have it open to the verse where it talks about you were formed in your mother's womb. And, you know, I knew you. And so I just would speak life every day. And obviously it's horrific to think that someone would be speaking death and suggesting death. And even with further, because after I ended up moving on with that doctor and I found a different MFM doctor, the same topic would come up. And although they had a little bit better of a bedside manner, it was horrific. I mean, you never want to hear those words. And so I remember when I went on to get an amniocentesis because they couldn't find a diagnosis, they couldn't figure out what was going on. There were just these physical abnormalities. I was terrified because I knew the risks of amniocentesis, and he was just saying, this doesn't look good. And he asked me the same question. Do you want to continue this pregnancy? Do you want to terminate? And my husband and I together were just like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're fighting for our baby. And so yeah.
Back to it with Alivia in just a second. But first, what I love the most about her voice is that the voices of our culture that are usually the loudest are those rooted in lies and evil. And truth is often silent, but her silence is no more because she has the courage to speak out on behalf of her children. Unfortunately, many, many women fall prey to the propaganda to embrace the evil loudness of the abortion industry. And right now, women are facing unexpected pregnancies every day and being constantly bombarded by this noise with pressure and fear before they ever even have a chance to pause, to breathe, or to hear the truth about the life of their babies and the hope that comes with choosing life. That's exactly why I'm standing with our friends at Preborn. At every Preborn Network clinic, a woman is welcomed with compassion and given a free ultrasound. In that sacred moment, she sees what she has never seen before, the life within her. Fear fades away, clarity dawns, and she is offered something that the abortion industry will never, ever, ever give: the hope of Jesus Christ. I have always been ardently pro-life, but even myself experiencing this for the first time cemented for me the power and the beauty of our babies in the womb. When I met my daughter for the very first time on an ultrasound screen at just about 11 weeks old, I got to count all of the teeny tiny bones in her fingers and toes and got to see her hand wave at me through the screen. And it so clarified for me the reality, the truth that my baby was a baby. She was worthy of love, of dignity, of support and protection. And of course, we want that for every mom experiencing pregnancy to have as well. This April, Preborn is aiming to share that hope in 11,000 gospel conversations across their clinics, and you can help make that happen. For just $28, you can sponsor one free ultrasound to a mom in need. $140 provides 5 free ultrasounds to moms in need. But every dollar saves lives and strengthens truth in a world that way too often denies it. The world may shout its lies, but we will not be silent ourselves. We can make a difference for generations to come. To donate and to save lives every day, you can dial pound 250, that's pound 250, and say the keyword baby on your phone, or head to preborn.com/Isabel. Again, that's preborn.com/Isabel.
I don't know if you feel this way, but I just had my first pregnancy as well. Obviously, my daughter is almost 1. And I remember in the process of these first few appointments, when you go in for the first few ultrasounds and you get to see your baby on the screen and you see their hand wave at you and their little cute button nose and all of the best moments, those moments that stop you in your tracks as a mom and truly just capture your heart forever. It's things that you will never forget. I've always been unapologetically pro-life.
Yes.
But seeing that on the screen, and hearing my baby's heartbeat and feeling her move around as they're probing your stomach was so grounding for me in the full humanity of our children. I mean, I've always known that. I'm a scientist by education. I studied all of this repeatedly, right? To pass all the tests in college and to get there.
Yeah.
But to experience it from inside of your own body out is a completely unexplainable feeling to those who haven't been pregnant before. And I remember thinking there in these doctors' offices, how tragic and crazy it is that in the next room over, there may be a woman at the exact same phase of pregnancy as myself, and they're not talking about her baby as a baby.
Right.
They're talking about her baby as products of conception or a clump of cells or something worthy to terminate, aka kill.
Yeah.
And how sad I was throughout that whole process. I mean, I remember crying at multiple ultrasound appointments because of that. And I can only imagine what that was like in your circumstance with these doctors telling you this all the time. But can you articulate for us a little bit with your exposure to all of these high-level specialist MFM physicians, why you think it's so easy for doctors to divorce the humanity of our babies the minute it's convenient or someone says, I just want to terminate, versus those who are fighting for their children?
I couldn't tell you why it's easy for them, because to me, it's very obviously murder. It's very obvious to me, especially, like you said, when you become pregnant and you're following along in the app and you're looking at even 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks of what's actually happening. And I was
incredible.
It would just really brings to life, literally, the miracle of life. And like you said, you've been pro-life your whole life, but it's until you became a mom and you are able to bring life into this world that it just becomes so real and so profound. And so I don't know how to answer that, because they're seeing the same baby on the screen as I am. They're seeing life as I am, but yet they're still so willing to quickly murder a life. And so for me, it's unfathomable. And there was even a point where Tim and I were at an MFM appointment, and Tim was concerned for my life. And so he straight up asked the doctor, is Liv at risk? Is she going to survive? Because the polyhydramnios had gotten so bad. And the doctor basically said, there's no instance where she won't be okay. So after he asked the question of, do you want to terminate? Tim had asked the question of, is Liv safe? And he said, the doctor, yes, she's safe. So then we basically looked at him in the eyes saying, so why would we ever do this?
Wow. And that's such a common thing that I often hear, especially from people who just repeat the same paradigm talking points is, well, what happens if the life of the mom is in danger? I've done extensive research on the subject and spoken with many, many, many OBGYNs about this, that really there is no reality in which aborting your child is safer, because in reality that would put your health at more risk. It opens you up to more potential complications down the line. So really this did just come down to the humanity of your baby.
It did. And it really blew my mind when he said that, because I was truly ignorant to the facts. Because when you think about being pro-life, you think, well, what about the mom? Like, what if something happens? Well, that is horrible if you would let the mom die. But when he was in this office confirming that there's basically no instance where you will die, I was blown away how quickly they were willing to just kill my baby.
So you refused, obviously, to do that. Thank God that you did, and you continued to place your daughter's life in God's hands. Tell us what happened next.
Yeah, so I ended up going into labor. I had no idea. And to be totally transparent, I thought I had a severe UTI. And I called my OB, and she said, you need to go to the hospital right now. I was going to have a natural water birth. So the hospital was not in my plans. Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay. So I went to the hospital. I mean, it was severe. I was having contractions. I didn't realize they were contractions. It was so horrible. I got to the hospital. I was 100% effaced, 2 centimeters dilated. I was only 26 weeks pregnant at the time. So truly in my mind, like, you can't be in labor at 26 weeks pregnant. It's just not even in your mind yet. I haven't even done my birth classes yet. Those things come later on in pregnancy. And so when I got to the hospital, it was just, I just couldn't connect. I couldn't believe that they were saying, oh, what are you here for? Oh, contractions. I said, no, I'm just convulsing. Like, I'm just in a lot of pain. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. It was clearly I was in labor. And so they immediately put me on magnesium, made sure that I was bedridden for the next 4 days. That was probably the most brutal experience of my life, like having to lay there. And I ended up having an epidural in my back for 4 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I was on the magnesium to slow down labor. They had given me the steroid for her lungs to develop, and I couldn't move. I wasn't allowed to eat. It was I truly, like, to be really real, felt like I was losing my mind. Like I was hallucinating. The medicine that they put you on is just horrible. And so in that moment, I was just like, thank the Lord, I have an incredible husband who was literally in my face holding me saying, like, just one more day, you got this, just keep breathing, because that was horrific. It was horrific. And so she ended up coming on November 19th, and we were in the NICU for 17 days, and then she ended up passing away. And so, yeah.
What blows me away about your story, and it did every day that you were posting about this, is a phrase that you just said, the one more day concept.
Yeah.
And you're talking about it in the context of labor here. But from the minute your daughter Blaire was born and rushed to the NICU, you were asking people who follow you to pray for just one more day with your daughter.
Yeah.
And the experience of giving all of the gratitude to God to just have this experience, no matter how long her life is, to get to love on her and support her and pray for her. Where did that come from?
Well, the one more day came from a song, actually. Sons of Sunday, Stephen Furtick's like boy band, I like to call it, came out with that song, and it was just so beautiful. And so, you know, throughout my whole pregnancy, when I wasn't guaranteed another day, when they said that I probably would not carry to term or have a stillborn, I just really clung to that and just declared every single day, one more day. And it really gave me purpose throughout my pregnancy and allowed me to be grateful for that day. It allowed me, because I remember just saying every day, I will not allow the enemy to steal my joy. Like, we have the honor of bringing life into this world, and a lot of women don't ever have that opportunity. And so for me, I wanted to embrace life and say, God, I choose joy today, even though I don't know what the future holds. Like, I'm going to choose that today. So one more day. And it was absolutely insane, the response when we were in the hospital with Blaire. I remember one of my friends, every time someone would comment their state, she filled up the US, and every single state was covered of people that were praying over Blaire. And it was just the most profound visual of the church being the church, like the body of Christ actually being the body of Christ. And for me as a pastor's kid, it brought so much healing, because unfortunately I've had to see the good and the ugly of the church. I'm sure we all have at this point. And so I just said, thank you, Lord, that you are bringing people together at their dinner table. Thank you, Lord, that there are thousands of children praying at bedtime. Like, thank you, Lord, that you're bringing marriages together to pray for my baby. That was just, it blew my mind. And so, yeah, that was very, very profound.
Your prayer also really blew me away and stuck out to me as very unique in the world that we live in today, because truly, I think we get so sucked into the temptation to just ask God to give us whatever we want, right?
Yeah.
That please, especially when it's something this obvious, please, God, give me what I want out of this. Give me the outcome that I'm looking for here. But every day you had the courage to get on your Instagram story and to update your followers and to just say, pray for God's will to be done.
Yeah.
What was that like as a mom, watching your daughter struggle with her health in the NICU and realizing that God's will might not be to give me my perfect baby girl to wrap up in a beautiful blanket and bring home, but to instead go home to him? How do I be okay with that as a mom?
Yeah. I think of three things. I remember being pregnant. I told the Lord in every season of trauma or trial or whatever is, I want to be obedient in everything. Like, obedient in the suffering, obedient in the good times, obedient in the bad times. And I think of the story of stewardship in the Word, where it talks about in Matthew 25, just like being a good steward with what you've been given. You know, how are we going to multiply this? And that's in context too of trial. And so, God, how can I be obedient in my suffering? And so if I really dug deep, I really was reminded of the story of Isaac. You know, like Abraham was promised Isaac. But then after he received the promise, what happened? It's time to sacrifice Isaac. And so I just remember that story becoming so real to me of, wow, God, you've given me this promise of Blaire. Like, you've given me these promise of these babies, but now you're calling me to surrender them to you. And I've prayed it over their isolate so many times. God, I surrender them to you. And obviously, my biggest desire was for them to be here. But at the end of the day, like, God is the author of all good things. And so I knew that they were his children. And I remember in the beginning, I felt so convicted by saying, my babies, my babies. And I changed the prayer to like, God, they're yours. And that was probably one of the hardest prayers ever to pray is like, Lord, not my will for them, but your will be done. And it just reminds me of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. Like, if I can let this pass from me, God, Father, if you would let this cup pass from me, please take it from me. But he said, but not my will, but yours be done. And so Jesus was just the ultimate example of that. And obviously I'm a human, and that was the hardest prayer ever. But I felt like that's what God was calling me to do. And I feel like I can really rest assured knowing, okay, God, I did what you called me to do in that season. I was obedient.
Yeah.
You know, in soccer, we say we left it all on the field. Like I gave it everything I could. I fought for them, and the results are up to him. And he is good regardless if the results were the way that I wanted, because he is good, not because he answered my prayer, you know, because the very definition of who he is goodness. And so, yeah.
That season that you were called to didn't end after those 17 days with your daughter Blaire in the NICU. I want to talk about the NICU, but we can come back to it. No, you're fine. After we talk about Callie. So unexpectedly right away, you found yourself pregnant again, which is amazing. What a blessing.
Oh my gosh. So December 6th, Blaire passed away. January 20th, on my birthday, and inauguration day, let me add, I found out I was pregnant. So it was a really epic day because I'm watching what's happening in the world, and there's dolphins jumping. It was my birthday, and I had a positive pregnancy test, and I truly was shocked out of my mind because, number one, I couldn't believe that the human body can do that quickly, and that I was recovered and I was able to carry another baby. And two, it was just so healing. And so I just couldn't believe that. You know, in that moment, I said, okay, God, you never let me go a month without life. Because since Blaire passed in December, I was pregnant with life the next month. And I just said, thank you. Thank you that you have never let me be empty-handed. And it was honestly the best day ever. And throughout her pregnancy, everything was perfect. I didn't have polyhydramnios. I mean, I was sick out of my mind.
Been there.
You don't feel
brutal.
perfect. Nothing about pregnancy is perfect. For everybody that says, I love being pregnant, I'm so happy for you. And I'm so glad that was your experience. But I was miserable. And so throughout her pregnancy, there was nothing wrong. We didn't have, and it was really redemptive, to be honest. I don't want to say it flippantly because although the end of the story isn't what I had wanted, God did redeem so much, you know, and throughout my ultrasounds, I saw a perfect baby, perfectly formed. And it was just so healing. And having another baby girl was just like, oh my goodness, you even redeemed that. And so that was all so, so beautiful. And we went on our baby moon to Maine, and then we got back. And the next day I had an ultrasound, and they had found chorioid plexus cysts on her brain. But it was so common. You know, there was a lot of people that have these happen to them. And so they were basically telling me, don't worry, these will probably dissolve over time. And sure enough, they did end up resolving over time. But we had to get a level 2 MFM ultrasound. And I remember looking at my OB, it was at a birth center, and just saying, I don't know if I can do this. I don't think I can do another level 2 MFM, and surely not with the guy that told me that I should abort my baby. And so I really had to pray about it. And I told Tim, like, babe, I don't know what to do right now. I have no idea what to do, because you want to have wisdom. Obviously, if there's something that's critically wrong with your baby, you want to do your best to give them the best opportunity. But at the same time, I also wanted to walk in faith and not have, you know, fear mongering or these things take root in my mind. And so we ended up doing a level 2 ultrasound exactly 1 week before Callie was born. On a Thursday, we went in, and same type of story. They ended up finding a severe heart defect, which never showed up on any of her ultrasounds ever. And I was 31 weeks pregnant, I think, at the time. And so this was beyond shocking, because Tim and I walked into this appointment thinking, we're going to go in, the chorioid plexus cysts are going to be gone. This is going to be great. Like, let's move forward. We're going to have our natural water birth.
Someday.
Yeah, one day the Lord might redeem that. But you know what? If I bring in a healthy baby, that's all that matters. And it took them a long time. And they kept staring at it. And I kept looking at Tim and I'm just like, what's going on? And so finally, 2 of the doctors came in and they just had that look on their face of, oh gosh, I have to bring you some terrible news, because obviously they know our history. And they basically said, you will probably lose your baby like very soon in the womb. You know, this defect is deadly. And if you carry and she's able to be born, she's going to need heroic surgery immediately. And I almost went numb in that moment, because it just felt like not copy paste, but I just couldn't believe that I was hearing this again, especially because we got genetics done, we got testing done. Tim and I don't carry anything. We felt like we had the green light to go ahead. And 31 weeks went by, nothing severe. And so I just was like, okay, God, like, I trust you again. I have no idea what to expect, because this was kind of our healing, our baby that brought so much healing. And so sure enough, that was a Thursday. On Sunday, basically I lost my mucus plug and went into labor.
Wow.
Yeah. And that following Thursday, I had her, and I ended up, it was terrifying. I had a placental abruption. I was bleeding out on the floor. I went by ambulance and ended up, she was born. She did not need heroic surgery. And we were in the most incredible hospital that specialized in cardiovascular. And so she was amazing. Like, she did so great. She had 4 surgeries, but after she was born, a lot more showed up. A lot more showed up. So there were so many things that happened after the fact that she had 3 or 4 more surgeries, but she started defying so many odds. And we were there every day. We lived in the hospital for almost 6 months. And truly, our nurses, our respiratory therapists, the doctors became family. And Callie was known for 3 things: her bows, her bracelet, and her blowouts. When she started getting really healthy on her organic formula, she, you know, it was fun stuff in the NICU. But everybody really loved her. And no matter what her medical complexities were at the time, they embraced life. And it was quite insane, the response that we got from our medical team, because our hospital was incredible. We would have conference meetings like once a month with the entire team, and they would say over and over and over again how Callie has changed their mind about other babies that are born with this diagnosis, and that they want us to be on the board at the hospital to help other babies. And so, although obviously tragically, you know, Callie passed away 2 months ago today, she actually ended up, she had a liver tumor that burst, and it ended up, she ended up passing away from that. But there is so much in it that we had learned. And like I said in the very beginning, when you see these things, you can't unsee it. You can't unhear it. You can't go home and remember that there's all these babies in the NICU that are healthy to go home. There's no family to go home to.
Wow.
And so for me, that's kind of where I'm at now with the story is, okay, like, it's time, although I cry myself to sleep almost every single night and it's horrific losing 2 babies. There are still so many babies that are worth fighting for. And that is something that both of my daughters taught me as we stared, you know, at their vital sounds and stared at their, the machines, everything that was going on. And every single morning I was checking their blood gases and their blood work and making sure I yelled at everybody just saying, hey, let's not do this, let's do that, because we want the best for our babies. It reminded me that if you have breath in your lungs, if you have a beating heart, you have someone or something worth fighting for.
Yeah.
And so today I might not have Blaire, and I might not have Callie, but I have breath, and I have a beating heart, and there are so many babies worth fighting for, and so that is why I'm here. So, thank you.
One of my favorite things about Alivia's story is how strong her marriage has become through this unbelievable season of trial and overcoming obstacles. And I think we can all agree that one of the hardest things to watch is a relationship do the opposite, to fall apart. Not because people stop loving each other, but because two genuinely good, God-loving people start believing that their problem, whatever it is, just happens to be too big to fix. I can't tell you how many couples I personally know that have pornography as the thing that breaks them and impacts their relationship. Not because one person didn't care, but because both wanted healing, they just had no idea where to start. But here's the truth. Most of the time, it's not really uniquely a porn problem, it's a pain problem. We live in a culture that numbs our pain instead of healing it and walking through it together. And porn is one of the easiest numbing agents out there. That's exactly where our friends at Relay come in. It's a faith-centered platform designed to help you or someone that you love walk through this struggle with real accountability, community, and strategies that are built by top therapists and experts on this subject. Relay doesn't just help you stop the habit, it actually helps you understand why it started and prevent it from starting again. Because most people don't turn to pornography because they're bad people. They turn to it because they're hurting, and there is hope for that hurt. If you're ready to take the first step forward for freedom and healing, you can use code Isabel for a 7-day free trial at joinrelay.app/Isabel. Heal your heart, strengthen your relationship, become who God meant for you to be with Relay. Again, use code Isabel for your 7-day free trial.
Thank you. I mean, honestly, truly, your story blows me away every time I hear you tell it. And I know this is your first actual public telling of your family's story, but the hope that you have given so many families navigating various seasons, I think, of this parenting journey that so many young women are desperately longing to be a part of is astounding, because the easy thing is to just say it always goes the same way, right? It looks like an episode of Friends where you pee on the stick and your friends are all so excited for you, and then 3 episodes later, you have this dramatic delivery that lasts like 3 hours, and then it's all great. That's perfect. It's fine. You bring your baby home and it turns into a beautiful sitcom. But motherhood is so much more complex and deep and challenging than that. And that's not bad. I think the overcorrection we've often had in society for how we used to just rose-colored glasses paint the experience has become really devastating on the other flip side of that. That now motherhood, pregnancy, delivery, certainly the more challenging aspects like your family has navigated, is presented as so unbelievably difficult or challenging or negative that it's not even worth pursuing at all. And I see these TikTok trends like the girl with the list about how pregnancy is so uncomfortable and delivery is so frustrating and difficult and I'm so tired and I don't sleep at night. I mean, I haven't slept in a year of my life. I get it. It's exhausting. It's hard. But the hard is what makes it so beautiful and so sanctifying. Knowing everything you know now, I mean, I know the answer to this question, but would you do it all again?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to. And that's the desire. And I never want people to hear stories like mine and it freaks someone out and say, this is why I'm never going to get pregnant. Because that's the enemy, right? Like, God put us on this earth. In Genesis 1:26, it says, be fruitful and multiply. And that covers a lot of things. To multiply, it doesn't mean just babies, but that is what we were created to as women, to birth beautiful babies. And so, don't let our story scare you or scare anyone else that might be listening. Just let it motivate you to really hold tightly your babies. And instead of, like you said, the TikTok trends of complaining, like, let's flip that around and say, like, I would do anything for a sleepless night. I would do anything to change a dirty, gross diaper that gets all over you, to have bags under my eyes. Like, I would do anything for it. And so I just want women to have that perspective of, this is such a blessing. It's not a burden. It's a blessing. And the fact that you brought life into life is insane. And it just shows really the miracle of life and how good God is. And we can't deny that there is a heavenly Father who loves us all so much. And so
I heard someone articulate this way the other day in a way I've never contemplated before, that pregnancy and delivery and motherhood is really the only experience that we ever get to have in this lifetime of creating life the way God does. And when you think about it that way, like, what an awesome responsibility. Like, of course that's challenging and difficult. It's not supposed to be easy. But when else during this journey on the tiny blip of a radar that is our lifetime on this earth, do we get to create life from scratch? Like that is a miracle in itself.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And that's something that I've been telling you. Really, I'll say it personally, I really see people differently now. I look at everybody and I just think, you're a miracle, you're a miracle, you're a miracle. It just makes me think, wow, the odds that everybody had to go up against just to come out healthy and to survive the womb and to come out and have no issues, or maybe there are some complexities. Like, wow, what a joy they are. And so it allows me to see people in terms of eternity and as their soul, not just flesh, if that makes sense. I know that might sound cheesy, but I'm really grateful that the Lord has allowed me to experience it in some weird, twisted way, because it really teaches you the fragility of life. And I've noticed myself in this season speaking a lot slower and thinking about, okay, well, what's worthwhile to say right now?
Yeah.
You know, we can say all the things, but at the end of the day, like, what's really going to get someone through a really dark season? What's really going to inspire someone to go out and do all that God has created them to do? I don't know the answer to that, but I can share what's helped me, obviously. And so that's the goal.
What's worth fighting for is a question that nobody really takes the time to humble ourselves to ask. I think we often get so self-obsessed with whatever our personal agenda is on a day-by-day basis, and that can really disorient our priorities with the wrong thing being the forefront of what we live our lives for every day. But in the midst of what can only be described as the most challenging chapter of your life, I'm sure you've asked yourself this question and answered it in a really profound way, wanting to use your platform on social media and the voice that you have to fight for more vulnerable babies whose humanity isn't quite as cherished by people around them. What has this meant for you with everything you've seen in fighting for life? Is there something that maybe you've changed your mind on or realized needs a whole lot more attention in our culture that people just haven't been aware of up to this point?
Yeah, for sure. I think as far as what's changed my mind, I think I was just ignorant towards like medical fostering and the foster system and adoption. Obviously, I knew of all these things, but I was so blown away in the NICU that there were so many babies ready to go home and there was no home for them to go to, whether their parents signed off their rights. And
how often does that happen?
Oh, there were so many. I mean, it's
really?
a daily. Oh, yeah. There was a baby there that was probably 8 or 9 months old, perfectly healthy, ready to go home, and there was no one to take them home. So my question is where's the disconnect between medical fostering or the foster system or the adoption system and the hospitals? And so that is kind of like what I feel I need to hone in on right now is where's that gap? Where's that disconnect? And also, obviously, Tim and I fought like hell, for lack of better words, for Callie and for Blaire, but there are so many babies there that have no parents and no one really advocating. Obviously, there's staff in the hospital, but they're not going to fight the same way as a parent or someone that has been through it. And so that's something that I'm looking into as well is, okay, where's the advocacy for these babies and their actual medical care in the NICU or in the hospitals? And then once they're ready to go home, where are the people who are wanting to medically foster and why is it taking so long for these babies to get connected with these families? And so that is something that I've never really looked into because I've never experienced anything like that. Obviously, with adoption, we just need to keep promoting, let's adopt, let's foster. And, but yeah, those are probably the two biggest things.
Did you experience that in both of your NICU stints with babies that were essentially just abandoned because of medical need?
Honestly, we didn't experience it as much. So they were in 2 different hospitals. So with Blaire, it was 17 days. And with her, it was so touch and go every day. And so we were just so immersed in being in the room, never leaving. Whereas with Callie, we were there for almost 6 months. So we really got to know the floor, everybody there. We were waving at the babies, getting to know the parents, because there was really only 2 other parents that we saw.
Wow.
And this is like
how many babies?
A 98-bed unit, I want to say.
Seriously?
Yeah.
And was it full?
Yes.
98
Very
babies
full.
and only 2 other sets of parents the entire time.
Yeah. at least
shocking.
2 sets of parents that we saw often. There are, I think there's a law, don't quote me on the exact law, but there is something out there where you can keep your financial rights as a parent, like taxes, if you go visit every 60 days. So there are parents who don't go for 59 days, show up on the 60th day, get their money, leave, don't come back for another 60 days.
I'm genuinely shocked by
I
this
was
information.
shocked. That's why my eyes are just, I can't believe this. I truly can't believe this, because some of these babies that have their parents that only come every 60 days to keep their financial aid.
These are their biological parents?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Don't even have crazy medical complexities to where it's like they're handicapped forever. It's very simple things. There's a lot of babies on the unit that their moms did meth all throughout, so they're on opioids trying to detox. So there's just so much that happens in the NICU that I was just so ignorant on until I was there, experienced it, had my eyes open, and now it's like, I can't unsee that. I can't unlearn that.
Yeah.
And so obviously if we say things like we're pro-life when we're fighting for life, that's the unborn and the born. And so now who's going into these hospitals and fighting and figuring out if it's legislation that we need to change, if it's the medical fostering system that's broken, what is it?
What's the difference between medical fostering and just signing up normally? Is it the same process?
So medical fostering versus fostering?
Yeah.
Medical fostering, I believe you have to go through actual like medical training. So if they're on like a ventilator or anything like that, they would have to like go through. And so if a baby has a trach, you know, someone that just signs up for fostering, I don't think they would be equipped to take care of them. So
Do you think we just have a shortage of people who are interested in that? Or?
that's what it sounds like.
Interesting.
Or maybe there's just not awareness towards this, but whatever it is, I'm going to raise hell and make sure that I am very loud about it. Because if you even think about like our friend group or people that you know, the amount of people that would want to adopt, or maybe we're in the medical field and they want to do something good. And so I think it's awareness. I think once people are aware, maybe there will be more people that sign up to do it. And then I don't know if there's a lot of red tape involved.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know.
Alivia's story of motherhood is one of the most inspiring I've ever heard. And this month, we're going to be talking a lot about motherhood because, in case you haven't been paying attention, Mother's Day is right around the corner. This Mother's Day, Cozy Earth, one of my favorite brands on the planet, is helping to give back to the women who make those special quiet moments in our lives and real unconditional love possible. From the softness that greets your mom in the morning to the comfort that helps her unwind at night, every detail of Cozy Earth's products are designed with mom's rhythm in mind. Their robes are everything that cozy should be. They are ultra soft, beautifully made, and perfect for everyday downtime. The slippers that they make wrap her feet in warmth and care that feels like a hug. I have over the last year been slowly rebuilding my home as this luxury sanctuary that I can come home to in the busyness of the insanity of my life between podcast interviews and traveling to give speaking engagements and constant back and forth across the country. Home is the most special place I could possibly be, and slowly upgrading the little luxuries in our home, like my bath towels and the robe that I put on in the morning to do my hair and makeup for the show. Even the pajamas that I slip into at the end of the day has been the most beautiful way I could possibly create this little sanctuary where I get to spend time with the people I love the most. And for whoever the mom in your life is, whether that's your mom or your wife or your best friend, your mom deserves that too this Mother's Day. And because comfort should last just as long as your mom's love does, Cozy Earth is backing everything they have with a 100-night sleep trial plus a 10-year warranty. Their products are thoughtful, gentle, and lasting. It's care that she can actually feel every single day. Let this Mother's Day be a reminder that your mom deserves care too, and discover how Cozy Earth is turning everyday routines into moments of softness and ease. Head to CozyEarth.com and use my code Isabel for an exclusive 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, make sure you mention that you came from the Isabel Brown Show over to Cozy Earth. Again, that's code Isabel for an exclusive 20% off.
That is so fascinating for me to hear, because I'm extremely involved in the pro-life movement, and I never once have heard of this 60 days period and all of these problems. I mean, I think you think of the NICU, and I have never really experienced the NICU outside of a few shadowing experiences when I was pre-med in college. But I certainly didn't live there for months and months like you and so many other families have had. I think you close your eyes and you think of the NICU as like the last resort for so many babies.
Yes.
It's when babies are born extremely prematurely.
Yes.
Tons of medical intervention.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're telling me sounds like there are dozens and dozens of babies at a lot of these hospitals that don't even really need to be at the hospital.
Yes.
There's just no one who wants to take them home.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah.
How has this experience made you think more about abortion? I mean, I know certainly
Yeah.
the humanity aspect of your babies is so, so important to you. And for other parents out there who might be told by their doctor, well, your baby's not even really a baby, reemphasizing that.
Yeah.
But have you thought more deeply or changed your mind on anything related to the actual procedure or the industry?
I'm obviously still very pro-life. As far as abortion, I think that a lot of women are honestly just ignorant on the procedure.
Yeah.
Or even chemical abortions, taking a pill.
Mm-hmm.
I did a few interviews locally because we're very involved pro-life in our community. And I was told about the abortion reversal pill, which is incredible. And I think that that should be talked about more because you do have maybe younger women or women who are in an unwanted pregnancy who take the pill and buyer's remorse, they regret their decision. They need to be taught about this reversal. And so that's something that I really want to dig into. Obviously, it enrages me. I have to really pause because I think to myself, you have the opportunity to have a healthy baby and you are murdering your baby. And there are, I don't know, millions, hundreds of thousands of women who probably,
every year.
I don't know the statistic, who would want that. Like, how selfish. And so I'm really thinking strategically and asking the Holy Spirit for help on how to address that because it is so inhumane and it is so evil. It's criminal.
Do you think there's a level, and I'm navigating my feelings about this in real time, so I'm curious to get your take on this, but there's a big debate happening in the pro-life world about accountability for if abortion were to become illegal tomorrow in America, what does that look like? Who goes to prison? Who is criminalized for this behavior? And there's so many interesting points across the spectrum there, but I've often felt, based on the stories I've heard from post-abortive moms, that more often than not, moms genuinely have no idea what they are actually doing when they go through an abortion procedure, especially when they are at clinics like Planned Parenthood, because usually if it is a surgical abortion, you're extremely drugged with all of these horrible sedatives, so you're not mentally aware of what's going on. When you go to confirm that you are pregnant, they don't show you your ultrasound. They have to do one to confirm that you're pregnant, but they don't let you look at the screen.
They don't let you.
Don't let you look at the screen to see the humanity of your baby so that they can tell you, it's not even just a baby yet, it's a clump of cells. And then they sign you up to get it done. But what's even more scary about all of that is that the vast, vast majority of abortions in America, upwards of 70% right now, are the pill, as you just mentioned, which is actually a series of 2 pills. They make you take the first one and they watch you swallow it inside of abortion clinics. And then they hand you a brown paper baggie with the next regimen that you're supposed to take 24, 48 hours later, which can be reversed before you take the second one, by the way. You're absolutely right. And there is a hotline for that we'll put on the screen for anybody who's interested. But they're told this is going to be like taking a heavy Tylenol. And I hear this a lot. This is the line that Planned Parenthood uses, that when you take mifepristone and then misoprostol, first pill is to starve your baby from the umbilical cord and make sure that they're cut off from their nutrients so that they pass away. And then the second pill, which is also used in miscarriage care, is to dilate your cervix and make sure that you actually give birth to your baby. Forced birth, which ironically is what they often refer to pro-lifers as, the forced birthers. But they're told this is like taking a Tylenol, which is a pain reliever. This causes pain, obviously. And you're going to have a really heavy period for a couple of days. But that's it. They don't tell you you're giving birth in your bathroom, usually. And I think it was the Washington Post. I may need to fact check this in post, but there was an article, I think it was the Washington Post, a few years ago interviewing women who had gone through chemical abortion, taking the pills, saying that they were told that if they see their baby come out, which you do, I mean, it's a baby, right? Ultimately, even if it's just this big, you're supposed to flush them down the toilet or drain them down the bathroom drain. And as a mom, as a mom, I just can't even imagine looking at your baby and holding your baby in your palm, as so many of these moms do. And so I think there is a huge realm of this conversation where moms genuinely don't know what they're doing. They're told all of the wrong things. It is all propaganda. It is all lies. And then they get on the end of the abortion experience and they go, oh my God, what did I just do? I killed my baby, right? This wasn't a clump of cells. This was an actual human being. And I had to go through this experience. On the other hand, there's a lot of very ugly, evil, arguably satanic culture in our country today, where women are like doing happy dances in the parking lot of abortion clinics saying, F my baby, I'm going to kill my baby. I'm literally quoting a video we reacted to the other day. Where do you think the problem lies here moving forward? And how do we encourage more women, A, to embrace the good and the true and the beautiful on that more evil spectrum, but also B, to just be a lot more aware that this is an evil industry, including at many like top level hospitals and top maternal fetal medicine doctors, not just Planned Parenthood clinics, that they're trying to convince you of a lie?
First of all, it's demonic. I mean, that's my first reaction, is that is so demonic that someone would cheer and celebrate. It's so sickening. Like, I truly feel like I can throw up thinking about it, because that is just, that's the enemy. Like, the thief is here to steal, kill, and destroy. Like, so one, I'm just flabbergasted that that's even happening in our country. Obviously, yes, there is still a huge need for awareness. Obviously, there's amazing voices like you and so many pro-life activists that are putting out education, reminding people what they're doing. But so many women don't have mentors. They don't have a good friend that can speak life into them. And if they find themselves in an unwanted pregnancy, or let's be honest, like maybe they were raped, maybe they had a bad situation happen, or they were roofied at a bar and something happened, because those are the realities, it's still life. There's still no excuse to murder. There's still no justification to murder. But in those moments, they feel desperate. In those moments, they feel like they have no choice. They feel alone. They feel maybe they don't have the financial ability to bring on a baby or the mental capacity, whatever it is. I think those are the moments that we need to remind women in those situations that there are opportunities for adoption. There's an opportunity for us to come alongside of you as the church, as the body of Christ, to financially equip you, to help you, to mentor you. But that's really up to us. It's up to the pro-life community. It's up to sisters in Christ saying, you're not alone. And reminding them that their life matters, reminding them that they are a miracle themselves, and that you have a choice. And pro-life is the only choice, by the way. I don't want anyone to take those words out of my mouth. You
have a choice to choose life.
To choose life.
You don't have to be sucked into the propaganda.
And so, yeah, I think at the root of all of it is obviously evil. It is obviously a tactic of the enemy. Our country, I believe one of the biggest problems with our country is identity, number one. Like the moment, we don't have to go down that path, but if our identity is not so firm in the Lord and who we are, that He's created us beautifully as a woman, we can be powerful, we can be weak, we can be feminine, we can be fierce. You know, we don't have to choose. And I think that's what's so beautiful about a Proverbs 31 woman, is she can be all the things. You know, it says that she wakes up before her children, but her arms are also strong for her work. She considers a field and buys it. It shows a businesswoman. It shows a mom. It shows a pastor, you know, believe it or not. And so I think that it's important when those things happen, and maybe a woman is in an unwanted pregnancy, or maybe she's really struggling with, what do I do in this situation, to really come alongside and enforce identity, to enforce, you can do this. Like, you are beautifully, you were created to multiply. You were created to bring life into this world. And I think that would make a huge difference, alongside of education, alongside of reminding them what you just told me about these medicines. That is horrific. That is not just Tylenol, that they're suffocating their baby. I did not even know that. I did not know that it starved the baby from the umbilical cord. That's horrific. I can't even think about it, because it makes me sick to think about. But, and on the same side of things, that's more dangerous for the woman's
It
body
is.
than to keep the baby.
In fact, many people are calling for the government to ban the use of the first pill. The second pill is used in other clinical settings. And so I think people get a little confused because you hear the abortion pill and you assume it's one thing.
Yes.
But that first pill, mifepristone, is so dangerous. So in fact, actually, when women are taking this pill, they say that 11% of the people who take it, which is insane. That's more than 1 in 10 people who take it. And there are 70% of the million plus abortions happening in America every year that are happening from this pill experience extreme adverse effects. So we're talking about stuff like uterine rupture or bleeding out or very severe hemorrhaging. I mean, just really scary stuff. And these women are taking this stuff in their bathroom at home. Like, this is not safe, actually.
Or hiding it from their parents, not telling anybody, passing out by themselves.
Getting it in the mail with no oversight whatsoever. Husbands and boyfriends and really bad actors are starting to be criminally charged with spiking their partner's drinks with this stuff when they're pregnant and inducing abortions without them knowing. I mean, it is so scary how unregulated it is. So obviously we need a lot more attention to that for sure. Yeah. But again, people don't know. Nobody knows any of this stuff. And so I think the awareness part is so important. But I also love the awareness of something else that you just said that is way more positive and beautiful. So let's go in that direction for a minute. That to be a godly woman and a woman of Christ is such a beautiful, complex, enriching, purpose-giving, fulfilling experience that we often don't equate with womanhood. Womanhood is a burden, right? Ugh, who wants to get their period every month and who wants to be hormonal all the time? And it's so hard to be a woman today, is what I often hear from so many people, including very successful women with like gazillion-dollar podcast deals and a million.
So how hard is that for you?
Exactly. Being a mom is the most beautiful part of my life. And it has taught me so much more than I ever could have imagined. They say your heart walks around outside your body after you're a mom, and the way that you can feel the depth of the range of human emotion at a level you've never experienced before is insane.
Insane.
What has being a mom taught you? And how can we encourage more women that to be a mom is not a demeaning demotion in life, but actually is wildly empowering and one of the best ways to live your life as a woman?
Oh, absolutely. I think, first of all, even though you get a period every month, it's a blessing because so many women struggle with that and can't have babies. And hopefully, prayerfully, miraculously, they will have their own babies one day soon. But being a mom, wow, I was not expecting to cry. Wow, sorry.
Take your time.
It's probably one of the biggest honors of my life and my favorite title that I've ever carried. And although I feel like I don't carry that title anymore, I know that I am. And I just want to encourage women that it is absolutely not demotion. And when you have babies, like you said, it's like your heart is walking around. And you have the ability to pour into someone that will be better than you ever were. And I think that is like something I'm very excited about when we do have babies again, is pouring everything that I've learned, all of my experiences, and the love that God has poured out to me onto someone else. And having the ability to really just embrace their innocence and their purity. You know, they're not tainted yet. And hopefully you can protect them from all the tainting and all the bad that is happening in this world and remind them that there's just so much hope. And I think that it's just a beautiful reminder, children, of the childlike faith that we should have with the Lord. And it's just very inspiring just to watch these little kids. I even think about the kids that prayed for Blaire, the kids that prayed for Callie. And I remember one of my biggest prayers was, God, protect them, because I was so worried that all of these children, I mean, there were thousands of kids every night praying for them. I was so concerned about their faith and their salvation and wondering, well, I prayed for these babies every night. Like, why did they have to die? But it was actually on the flip side, they were excited that now my girls are with Jesus. And at first I was taken aback when a few of my friends had told me that in person, or they had texted me. They were like, oh my goodness, Callie's with Jesus and Callie's with Blaire. And they were excited. And I was kind of confused because obviously being an adult, it's the worst thing to watch your babies go to heaven. But these children are just so excited that they're in the ultimate place with Jesus in heaven. And so I think that is so beautiful to see as children. I think it's just such a reminder of that childlike faith that the Lord wants us to have, and that purity and that innocence that we were created with, that maybe we need to revisit and say, you know what? Yes, there's a lot of evil in this world, but there's a lot of good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good. And so to focus on that and just to focus on the joy that they bring, the light that they bring, the innocence that they bring, I think is just so beautiful.
One more break before we head back to finish our conversation with Alivia. We are so proud to be supported by our friends at Grand Canyon University, an affordable, private, nonprofit Christian university that's based in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, where I was so privileged to live for a couple of years working at TPUSA. Earlier in my 20s, I had lots of friends go to GCU. And there's a lot of people out there that say higher education is completely outdated, it's irrelevant, but GCU doesn't want to settle for the status quo. They shatter it. At GCU, academically rigorous, industry-driven programs are built to move at the speed of relevance, with practical skills and career readiness and opportunity available for every student on campus or beyond. GCU believes education shouldn't just be a privilege for anybody, but an affordable path forward for everybody, for all. And because of this, they have kept their tuition rate at exactly the same rate for traditional campus for the past 17 years and are continuing that into the 2026-2027 academic year too. Plus, they have awarded over $400 million in institutional GCU scholarships last year in 2025 alone to support and encourage education. They are grounded in Christian truth, and GCU is working to empower the next generation to lead our society with integrity, serve with purpose, and to help transform our communities, building a future that actually matters. They are purpose-driven education. You can take action and learn more to find your purpose at GCU, private, Christian, affordable, nonprofit. Head to gcu.edu to learn more.
I think the internet especially gets so honed in on the evil.
Yeah.
And this last year, I have seen more evil, and the evil getting a lot louder than ever before in my life. Funny enough, you and I originally met. I don't know if I've said this on the show already or not, but you and I originally met, I think, through Turning Point USA.
Yeah.
And watching everything with the fallout that happened with Charlie and so much of the truly evil, demonic darkness that has spread across our society as a result is so tempting to just get sucked into hopelessness and despair. And someone reminded me the other day, as we were talking about Charlie being 6 months past already, which is crazy, that despair is a sin. Actually.
Wow.
That it's not just something we shouldn't strive for as Christians, but actually, like, it is truly evil. It is a sin to despair because it is the opposite of hope and faith and placing our trust in God. As you've navigated the toughest chapter of your life and what can only be the easiest opportunity for spiritual warfare to creep in and the enemy to take on a role in your life, how have you stayed grounded in hope and faith and refused to let despair take over?
Yeah, I think I've always said this to a lot of people that I lead in women's conferences and retreats and everything, is that it's okay to have momentary sadness. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to have these emotions. It's okay to feel like symptoms of depression or anxiety come across, but we're not called to live there. You know, I'm always reminded, like, God sent his son to die so that I can be in freedom. And I don't want that to be in vain. You know, like, Jesus dying on the cross for me means I get to be free from depression, free from shame, free from guilt, free from any of that. And so it's just very convicting to think, okay, am I just going to live in my pity party of despair while the only reason I'm on this earth is really to point people to him?
Yeah.
So another day of hiding, another day in sorrow is another day that I could be pointing people to the cross. And it's not to say you're not allowed to have sorrow, because I still have those moments every day, but it's being honest through it and saying, okay, God, you are still good in it. Even though it doesn't feel good, there is still hope. And there's still the message of the cross. There is still purpose in life. And that's what I said this in the very beginning is if you have a beating heart, if you have breath in your lungs, there's someone or something worth fighting for. And so we all have purpose in every day.
Mm.
So
as we keep fighting for families, I have a couple more questions for you.
yeah.
There's a lot of people who watch the show and follow me on social media, and they love how much we're sharing content about our parenting journey and our baby, but they're equally struggling with how often we're posting this because so many families are struggling with infertility. And I know you walked through that season with your family as well. 1 in 7 couples in America today is dealing with unexplained infertility.
Oh my goodness.
Which obviously doesn't exist. Clearly there is an explanation for that, but our medical system just doesn't want to address it, or instead wants to sell you IVF or something else as a mechanism to get through it. How can we encourage more families to have hope and find joy in the waiting season and also realize that there are a lot of ways to make a family and God may be calling us in a different direction that way?
Yeah. I think in every season of waiting that I've been in, which we won't go down every season, but I just always heard the Holy Spirit, don't resent the wait. Like, don't resent it. Like, there is so much that happens in the waiting that equips you for the calling that God has on your life. I think of it almost as a resume building experience for the job, that you want. Like, waiting, you're learning skills, you're learning the act of patience, you're getting closer to the Father, you're learning what your first love is, which is the Lord. You're kind of desperate. You're crying out, you're like, God, I really want this. You're seeking the Lord more. And I think that really allows us to be in a posture of really surrender and in gratitude, because if we're just sitting around complaining, saying, I'm never going to have a baby, or I'm dealing with all this stuff, which is valid. I don't want anybody to think that that is not a valid feeling, because I have walked through that and it's very difficult. I remember when Tim was gone for almost 7 years, I was in all these weddings and it was so hard. I remember walking through a season of infertility and all my friends were pregnant. It's valid. It's really difficult. But I just remember saying, okay, God, how could I still celebrate life in the meantime? How can I stand up for your love, your grace, your compassion? How can I wait well? How can I not be a bitter child? I think about a child that gets the wrong present on Christmas Day and they're like, that's not the right one I wanted. Are we just being those annoying, ungrateful children, or are we being really appreciative of the life that we have? And so I would just really say, wait well. And then honestly, I'm so into holistic health and finding the root cause. I think that is extremely important to just figure out hormonal disruptors and things that you can really, optimally perform, like your health. Sorry, I might need to re-say that.
It's perfectly true.
Okay.
I totally agree with that. And actually, that's my big beef with the medical industry right now, is nobody really wants to go figure out what's really going on in your body. They just say, it all looks fine on paper.
Yeah.
And then they can't help so many of my friends. I mean, I have very close people in my life that have been walking through this for years now. And they just are so frustrated. Nobody wants to help them find the answer.
No. Yeah. And so with my journey, I would just say dig deep, and any woman that's listening is listen to your body. If there's some things that feel off, whether it's brain fog or inflammation or bloating or whatever, maybe your periods are horrible, dig into that a little bit deeper, do some research. And for me, it was getting a tooth removed. I don't know if that's going to be everybody else's story. Hopefully someone's out there that's listening that has a root canal and you're having trouble, maybe look into that, look at the root cause and wait well. And honestly, it's such a beautiful time I remember that 1.5 years with Tim and just figuring out marriage and figuring out how to love each other well, even in the midst of sorrow, in the midst of wanting something so bad, and allowing our relationships to be so grounded in the Lord and almost saying, you know what, we're enough. Like, our relationship is enough. Even if the Lord never blesses us with our own natural biological baby, like, we're enough. And if we need to adopt one day, if we need to foster to adopt one day, like, God will give us the desires of our heart to have a baby. And so, I would say wait well and don't resent the wait was really 2 things that I can think of.
It reminds me of some of the greatest stories of powerful saints and doctors of the church throughout history. I mean, people who had to go through horrifying trials and tribulations, martyrdom, torture, execution, all of it.
Yes.
And yet so many of them have talked throughout the last several thousand years about how they've always felt closest to Christ during suffering, actually.
It's true.
That the best joy comes with extreme pain.
Yeah.
and suffering unlike anything you could have imagined before.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't think in our society, most people truly deal with that level of suffering that so many of our brothers and sisters are dealing with on the other side of the globe. But have you realized this last few years of your life the joy of suffering? And what has that taught you in your faith life that can inspire other Christians to lean into that too?
I chuckled. Sorry, that might have sounded inappropriate, but I chuckled because I feel like, you know, everybody's like, you need to write a book. You're like modern day Job. And I said, thank you so much for reminding me that my life is like Job and that it's just one big story of suffering. But it's true. I just think of the verse in the Bible that talks about we rejoice in our suffering because suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. And so it's true. In the midst of your suffering, there is a level of you are so dependent on the Lord that nothing else really helps. You know, you can have these coping mechanisms. You can go to the gym, you can eat healthy, you can do healthy habits, go see sunsets. But at the end of the day, it's only the Lord that satisfies. And, you know, I've always taught happiness is situational, where joy is everlasting. And when you read in Galatians 5 about the fruits of the Spirit, it talks about joy is a fruit of the Spirit. And so back in the day, I remember when I was going through a really hard season, I released a whole merchandise line of t-shirts that said joy is a promise. Because no matter what you go through, no matter how dark the season of life is that you're in Galatians, it says the fruit of the Spirit is love and then what? Joy. And so no matter what we're going through, the Word of God is true. And we get to receive that free gift and that promise for our life in the midst of it all. And even though hell might be breaking loose, or you might be looking at your baby who is passing away, there is still joy because at the end of the day, in my specific instance, they're with Jesus. And although I'd rather them be in my arms 1,000 times over, I know they're truly in the best place. It's just really hard to grasp that as a mom. But that is a promise that we have from the Word. And I think that so many people lose sight that the Word is so full of promises that will not return void. And to really stay grounded in that, because it's true, suffering does equal joy sometimes. And that seems so contradicting, but it's so true. So
last question for you is a fun one.
Okay.
Pretty fun.
We like
I
fun.
like to think. I believe that choosing the person that you're going to marry is probably the most important decision you are ever going to make in your life. I mean, I think so many young people just think I need to look for someone who likes the same music as me and has the same hobbies and we watch the same movies. But really, as you've experienced throughout your marriage, your husband is the person that's going to get you through the toughest moments of your life. Cancer diagnoses and mortgage payments, and big surgeries, or even the loss of your children. And God willing, that doesn't happen to so many people, but it, you know, it does happen. This is a part of life. Tragic loss is a part of life. And I think understanding that going into the vocation of marriage and the beauty of matrimony is something missing from the conversation about marriage prep and discerning who the right person is. How can young women be a lot more keen on observing the right traits in who makes a wonderful husband? And what can young men watching this do to build themselves up to tackle these bigger moments where they need to support their wives?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is so exciting. I feel like I want to do marriage boot camp right now.
I know.
I could truly talk for hours about it because my husband and I, Tim, we are very passionate about this subject, about marriage, because at the end of the day, next to receiving the Lord, marriage is the biggest decision you'll ever make. The most important decision you'll ever make. Because to be honest, you never know going into marriage what you're going to go through. We would have never anticipated losing 2 babies. And, you know, I want to try to make this concise, but number one, I firmly believe in traditional values. Let men be men. My husband is a very strong man, very meek and submitted to the Lord. And I have zero problem submitting to that because I know that He answers to God for us. And so men, don't be afraid of leading in your masculinity, I would say. Submitted under the Lord. You know, I think that unfortunately we probably have seen a lot of, for lack of better words, like male chauvinists that seem very domineering, very, I need to be powerful, and they overtake women. And on the flip side, we have men now who are afraid to be men because of the feminist movement, and women don't want their door open or their bill paid for. And I'm just like, where are we going?
I don't know who these women are. I
what
would
is
rather
happening?
you pay for my dinner every time.
I'm like, I'm sorry. Tim carries all my bags. He opens the door. He pays for everything. He holds my friends' hands to make sure that they're not walking along the road. So I think that is just a foreign concept to me, but it's happening. Yeah. And unfortunately, I do have friends who are 40 and in their late 30s who are still single, who are still looking for a man. And it can feel very disheartening because men, I don't feel like are really allowed to be men these days. And so I would just say, wait for the right one, because I feel like there's nothing worse than marrying the wrong person. Yeah. Nothing worse, because it is till death do us part. That's what I believe. When you say your covenant, it's a covenant with the Lord. It's not just a covenant with a husband and wife. You are making a covenant with God. And so if there's a point throughout the marriage that you want to walk away, just remember, like, that's a covenant between you and God. Like, I don't want to break a promise with God, you know? And so it has to be taken. I don't feel like marriage is taken with the same amount of reverence and respect and honor that there used to be. And so I would hope that going into a marriage or any relationship for that matter, there would be a lot of thought put into it. And not just, do you like country music in America, but do you believe in the Word of God? Like, are you grounded in these principles? Because at the end of the day, one of the best feelings that I have being married to Tim is knowing that we stand on this. And so if we don't get to have a conversation about a decision, we already know. I already know what to expect, you know, and I'm sure you can say the same thing, is when our decisions, when our marriage is grounded in the Word of God, there is that trust and that surrender of, okay, we're good. Yep, we're good. And if you don't have that, then I truly don't know how people do it. I don't. And so yeah.
Well, thank God for your amazing husband and a wonderful man of God he is.
Tim is the best.
And truly, Alivia, I just want to say how much I admire you, how much you have inspired me in so many different ways, and how much your story and your family have given hope to many, many families walking through despair. Your courage to tell your story publicly is so inspiring. And I'm very hopeful this episode reaches people exactly where they need to hear it the most. But also, I can't wait for you to be rejoined with your babies in heaven someday. And I can't wait to meet them as well, because truly they are little saints who have inspired so many people to embrace Christ.
Much. It means the world. Such an honor to be here.
Before you go, where can people follow you and your family's story?
Yeah, I just simplylive.co on Instagram.
It's a good follow. You better do it, or I'm going to be upset.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Massive thank you again to the beautiful Alivia for joining us on the show today. And please join me in continuing to pray for her and her husband, as well as their beautiful daughters, Blaire and Callie, who they will reunite someday with in heaven. In a culture and a time where darkness and evil seem to reign supreme, especially when it pertains to how we treat the most vulnerable babies in our society, those who need us to speak up for them the most, I am so deeply grateful people like Alivia are out there, reminding us of the inherent dignity and value of human life, and how even when things seem the darkest and the most bleak, we can always retain our faith and our hope in a sovereign God who loves us unconditionally. What an amazing note to start our weekend on. See you guys next week.